Welcome, everyone, to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast. I'm a networking expert and the author of the upcoming book, No Strangers, How to Build Community, One Relationship at a Time. My why is the pursuit of mastery, and the goal of this podcast is to lock arms on a lifelong mission of daily personal growth to become the best version of ourselves. So let's dive in to today's episode. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of the podcast. We are joined by a very special guest. He recently released his chart-topping Warner Music major label debut, Drove Me Country, and the two singles have found their way to the top of the charts as well. Those singles are Couldn't Hurt and Behind Bars. So welcome to the podcast, my good friend, Mr. David Boyd James.
What's going on, Joel? How are you, buddy?
I am doing awesome. How are you? What's on the docket today? Any big plans conquering the world, or is this like a lazy Wednesday?
Chatting with you was definitely on the docket, and I have a few more interviews later on today, but just doing some media and behind the scenes work.
Awesome. So our history, this is what I remember. I worked at Metalworks for several years. I remember it being in the studios, walking around and getting a phone call from an unknown number. And it was this David Boyd James guy who introduced himself and said, "Hey, I'm a musician. Like, we should tour together sometime." And even though we never ended up touring together, just kind of that spirit and that audacity to just reach out and ask for what you want. We became friends. We've hung out. We've played open mics and karaoke and poker. And I've been to your place to watch UFC. And it's been great to get to know you along the way and see your growth and your success. So that's how I remember us meeting. That's how we get to where we are today. And you were actually a guest on this podcast a year and a half ago. So it's already been a year and a half. You are on episode 9. This is episode 30, I believe. And a lot has changed in the last year and a half in your life and your career, as well as the pandemic. We've made some progress, it seems. So we'll talk about all that stuff. And the first podcast, we covered everything leading up to you recording the album. So we're not going to dive back into your history and where your love of music came from and the transition. People go back, listen to episode 9. That was an hour and a half. We are going to start with this new album and moving forward so that we can deep dive. So the first thing is, it's a huge honor for you that you are the first ever 2-time guest on this podcast. We've never had someone come on twice. So you are the first person.
That's awesome.
Your excitement is palpable for being the second guest. So that's history. No one can take that away from you. So let's dive into the album, man. I really want to dive in as a musician, as a friend, as a fan. I've listened to the album 4 times now, and in different settings, different mindsets, different headphones and earbuds and speakers. So I've soaked this album in, so I am worthy of deep diving into it now. Let's start with, how does it feel to finally have that major label debut album released?
It feels surreal, dude. And I feel, I truly feel like I've unlocked this special secret that nobody knows about, and I want to just run around and tell everyone what the secret is. And the secret is I started out at open mics and karaoke bars, and from there to where things are currently is a huge gray area. But the secret is if you work your ass off and you believe in yourself and you go all in, these things can really happen in real life without connections and all that shit. It really does come down to just hard work and not being afraid to ask the universe what you want, and that correlates to, like me texting you or calling you, and just being like, hey, we're that love music. we have history. There's even further history because of Canadian Idol, but at the end of the day, we're just people that love music, and you know, um, so it just feels incredible. And it's like, I think the most exciting part about it is that um, I'm getting the opportunity to have an even bigger platform to spread this message, so very grateful and just really excited. I mean, I'm having the time of my life, dude. I'm not going to lie. And it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
I'm living vicariously through you with your updates on the shows and the singles and the chart topping and all that stuff, which is great.
Thanks, man.
So what you just said reminded me of something called the hero's journey. So this comes from Joseph Campbell. He had a book called, I believe it's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and he popularized this thing called the hero's journey. So every human being, every plot in every book, every movie, every video game, the person goes through the hero's journey. And that's kind of what you just described, which is, everyone's just living their life and they get this call to action. So in your case, it's this call to music. And at first we're scared because this is getting outside of our comfort zone. So you dabbled in music and then you let it go for 10 years. So that's the first step, is you're aware of the call to adventure, but you're just not ready for it yet. It's too scary. It's too new. So that's the first part of the hero's journey. Eventually, it's usually something traumatic and life-changing that happens, usually a negative, that pushes you outside of that comfort zone to actually take that call to adventure. And in your case, it was a bad breakup. And, some people it's a death or a loss of a job or whatever. So the bad breakup is what makes things so bad that you're like, things can't get worse than this. So I might as well start doing what I think is right. And you actually accept the call to adventure. So you go out on this adventure. So for you, it's the shows and winning the competitions and the major label, the chart topping, all that stuff. And you meet new people, you learn new things, you develop new skills. And then a part of the hero's journey is you feel the need to come back to where you started and share what you learned.
Yeah.
That's the full circle of the hero's journey, is you having the courage to go and do that, and coming back with the spoils, coming back with the treasure, and sharing that with your community, and them saying that's what's available out there if I step out there. So I feel like that's exactly what you just described in your little response to, hey, what's going on today and how does the album feel? Does that seem accurate? Like, I didn't have that prepared. That just came to me right
no,
now.
I've never heard of that before. That's incredibly inspiring, but that's exactly it, man. It's like I mean, I can't tell you, in the last just 4 weeks, a fan of mine reached out to me and told me she called off a year and a half engagement because she heard my story and she just resonated so well with it, and she knew she was in the wrong place and she needed to get out. And I mean, people have told me they've sold their houses and went back to school and just recently graduated. They started following me at the beginning. And I mean, like, this kind of, that kind of shit, that's real shit, man. That's more important than anything I'll ever become. It's just, I mean, you remember, like, people don't know this, but like, you remember I used to come out to Marco Polo for those big roundtable meetings where everyone would, talk with each other and get to know each other and network. And, I was part of that long before any of this started, so I've always knew that, I've always known the message of thoughts become things. I've always known the law of attraction and act as if, and all of that stuff. But I think you can take that to the wrong place too, and the wrong place for me was, sales for heating and cooling. I'll always be good at that job. It's not about the furnace. It's about the person. It's about being able to talk to people and understand people's needs and wants. And I'm not doing any of this shit for fame or money, believe me, because if it was money I was after, I'd still be selling furnaces. And I've said that so many times. but music fills my soul. You know, it's like it's what I truly live for. Um, you know, and we joke and we say like I hold the record in Ontario for the most top fives in a karaoke contest, but I've never won it. You know, and but it's like at the time that's what I had to do. That was the opportunity for me to live out my passion, not realizing what was happening is those open mics at Boston Pizza and Marco Polo and karaoke nights, that was igniting a fire. It was relighting a fire that had been lit back when I was 12 and 13. And then just things started to snowball. And so for me, while I'm trying to, take it all in, all the stuff that's happening, I'm also wanting to give the same amount of time to come back. And when I say come back, I don't mean to, a different level. I just mean come back to where I started, to say, guys, like, look at this shit, man. I'm on a record with the biggest country stars in the country. That's crazy, and I'm not bragging about it. It's just, I think it's insane. I can't believe it, but I have to believe it because this is what it's become. And I might be going on a rant here, but the other day I was talking to some close friends and I said, I want to try and explain something to you. And I don't know if this is going to make sense, but the last 4 years, I've been creating this Frankenstein. I've been working on this thing. And in the last 6 months, not even the last 3 months, I've pulled the lever and that son of a bitch stood up, and now he's walking and I'm responsible for it. I mean, that's a crazy thing, when you work towards something and then you actually start to see it coming together. I'm excited, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm grateful, there's so many feelings, but you're right. The most important thing is just to show other people that don't look at the Frankenstein when it's completed and go, wow, that's impossible to achieve. You got to start with the why you want to do it in the first place and build from there. And then all the pieces start coming together like a transformer. But then you got to be responsible for that transformer once it's completed. And that's something that's very serious, So yeah, man, it's just crazy.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's important that you talk about your past and where you come from. Because if all you talked about was today, where people see the chart topping albums and singles, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, born with a silver spoon and it was
Yeah.
easy for him. And so for you to be open and talk about, it's the struggle and it's the human component that makes people compelling. That's what people are drawn to. They say there's no what is it, there's no testimony without a test or something like that. So they say the struggles will be a part of the acceptance speech someday. So whenever you're on stage accepting that next award, just remember that you'd have no story if it was that easy.
Well, I think too, like the thing that's really important for me specifically is, I won Boots and Hearts in 2019 and so grateful. I mean, those people have changed my life, but I remember after I won it, I went into the office with the CEO and the VP, and I said, look, at the time I was like, I think I was 35, I think 35, 36. And I was like, I understand this is an audition. I understand that I want a contest and this is all part of a contract and whatever. But I want to earn my spot here. I'm here to work and I'm here to put the time and the energy in. And later on down the line, you hear rumors and stuff and people in the business or, how gossip and all that shit starts. And, oh, I heard Dave signed the contract before he even played at Boots and Hearts and just bullshit. And I'm like, it's funny how even when you do things the honest way and you just work hard and you sacrifice everything, people still think it must have been handed to you, and so I love talking about this stuff because I don't want I don't want other artists to buy into it's all just connections and it's all just money and it's all just, sure, every business has that element to it. But Frank Sinatra, Ray Charles, Elvis Presley, Garth Brooks, I mean, these are the icons that I look up to. Lenny Kravitz, and every single one of those artists, not only were they insanely talented, but they were undeniably stars. It's if you work hard and you have a positive message and you're bringing something positive into the world, eventually it has to catch. You know what I mean? It's like, stop focusing on record deals and contests and all that other shit and just work hard and things will happen. And the things that have happened for me are not by connections or contracts or whatever. I've just worked, and I want people to know that it's not fixed. It's not bullshit, because a lot of other artists won't step out of the box to say so because they're afraid of, what it might do to their career. And I don't care because I'm just being honest and I'm telling the truth and I'm working hard, and I want people to know that anything is possible if they put the time in, regardless of the noise. The noise is always going to be there. And the bigger you get, the more famous you become, the more bullshit comes with it. But I'm doing this because I love it. And I'm doing it because I'm gaining supporters that love it. And I have a responsibility to keep them uplifted and to keep them motivated, and that's what really drives me, and so I love doing stuff like this because I think more artists need to be open and honest about what they're going through. People need to know that we have mental health issues too. We can't sleep some nights. We, do things to just like everybody else. Like, no, everybody's the same, and I think it's important to break down that wall between the fans and celebrity and because we're nothing without them. And the record companies are nothing without us. So we got to stop building these walls up like we're all on different levels and start working together to truly elevate music in this country, and that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, Steve Martin says, become so good that they can't deny you. So
Yeah.
that's where the hard work comes in.
Mhm.
You just reminded me. So the Pink Floyd album, The Wall. So it's concept album, and you were just talking about, we got to break down that wall, where you have the celebrity and then you have the fans, and it's like, these people can't get here and we're not the same and we're better than you and all that. So Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, he was playing a massive festival. There's whatever, 100,000 people. And he was so far from the crowd, like the stage, he was so up high and so far from the crowd that he felt that there was a wall between the artist and the audience. And that was where the inspiration for The Wall came from. And
Oh, wow. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
that's kind of what you were mentioning there. How has the response been to the new album so far? So it's been out for what, 2 weeks now, 3 weeks?
It'll be 3 weeks this Friday. And I mean, the response has been incredible. You know, I think I don't know the exact number, but I checked 2 days ago and we were about 50,000 streams away from 1 million on the album in its first 3 weeks. And that's taking Couldn't Hurt out of the equation because that's on the record. It's doing great, man. And I think what's really funny is the single is Behind Bars, which is doing wonderful. But Till I Found You has just exploded on Apple and Amazon. It's incredible. So it's funny to see different platforms and how certain songs go in different directions. But I mean, it's doing great. And I remember when I put my first record out, Thoughts Become Things, in 2018, and it took like 4 months to hit 1,000 streams. So to be sitting like at 1 million 3 weeks in is just nuts. I'm so grateful, man. It's incredible.
With the two singles, so Couldn't Hurt's been out for a while, and Behind Bars is more recent. Both of them have reached the top of the charts. What does that mean to you? I mean, you can know that you've made an incredible album with the 8 songs, but it doesn't mean you're going to have hit singles, because it helps that you have great music, but great music doesn't necessarily mean success, because there is a machine behind it. There is promotion, there is money and marketing, and uh, like there's different demographics and audience response, and times are changing and people are looking for something else, and there's trends. Like, a lot of it's out of your control. So what does it mean to have actually broken through with 2 hit singles?
It's nuts, because I wrote Couldn't Hurt. I remember, I remember writing my verse and Couldn't Hurt, and I remember sitting in this room, working on Behind Bars. And I mean, it's, the album was number one. It was the number one selling album on Apple and iTunes on its debut release, November 5th and 6th, back-to-back days, and seeing my name up there with, Chris Stapleton, Dan and Shay. What? It's just like, it's I don't know that that's something I'll ever really understand, and to explain what it feels like, all I can say is all I want to do is just like go back to the village, and be like, hey, like
There's
that's all.
gold in them hills.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, that's truly what I want to do. I mean, I just think, um, why celebrate one life, my life, when you can celebrate a whole bunch of lives? I mean, I may never meet these people and these fans, and maybe I will, but to know already that there has been a handful of people that have made life-changing decisions because they decided to burn the boats. I'm not going to say their name, but recently, as someone that I know really unhappy with their job, and her and I chatted, and I told her, I said, if you're not happy, then quit, leave. And it's like that scary feeling of, well, shit, if I quit, then I don't have a job. But here's the profound thing. I want you to think of, like, you have a knapsack on, right? And in your knapsack, you have these rocks, and every rock weighs 5 pounds, and every rock symbolizes a problem or an issue or a situation that you currently are dealing with that is just dragging you down and creating a negative energy and vibe around you. If your knapsack can only hold 30 rocks, okay, and you're walking past a new opportunity, you can't fit that opportunity even as a positive into your knapsack, because your knapsack's already full. So the point of my story is, in order to make room for opportunity, in order to make room for what you truly want in your life, you got to remove some of those rocks from your knapsack. And it's a lot easier to climb a hill with an empty knapsack, therefore problems. We're always going to have problems and issues, but things come along in our life, and if we don't currently have room for them, we'll miss the opportunity. So by you staying in the job that you hate, you're not creating the circumstance that makes you wake up in the morning and go, shit, I need to find a job, because you have security. You don't have happiness, but you have security. So if you burn the boats and you say, peace out on this place, you're going to wake up with a different mentality. You're not going to wake up and brush your teeth and comb your hair and eat the cereal and go work for that, asshole that you hate. You're going to wake up and go, I got to get a new job because I don't have one right now. So your focus changes, your energy changes, your environment changes. So long story short, I told her, quit. Just quit. I know it's scary. Just trust me, quit. She quit. And it was like, now this isn't going to happen for everybody, but it was like
disclaimer.
Yeah. 4 days later, this amazing opportunity falls in her lap. right? So I know people are sitting here, okay, hocus pocus magic. Listen, believe in it if you want, or don't believe in it if you don't want. You know, I know that I came back and into my parents' house and said, "This is what I want to do," and I'm doing this from my old bedroom, and that's the award on my wall for Boots and Hearts that I won in 2019. And if anybody is listening to this and thinking that I'm boasting about it, you're an idiot. You're missing the message. This isn't boasting. This is showing you the shits on the wall because I sat down and I said, this is what I want to do. And I took it seriously. Just like my friend that quit her job had enough and things happen. It's not magic. It's you have to be aligned with the things that you want in your life to attract them. And if you're not aligned, it's just never going to happen, guys. you know, and that's just my opinion. But it was funny because when it happens, you can't help but kind of sit there and be like, what the hell is going on? Like, wow, it's crazy.
Feels like
You
the
know,
universe is conspiring in your favor once you
it's
know what you want.
yeah, and I'm telling you, man, uh, there's certain things that they'll never make sense, but they don't have to make sense. You just have to trust it and really trust it. It's not like someone sitting here listening and now they're going to close their eyes and they're going to say, all right, thoughts become things. I want a Lamborghini. It doesn't work that way. But if you truly want a Lamborghini, are you doing things that Lamborghini owners do? There's a funny observation. Do you ever see commercials for Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Bentleys? No,
That
because people
market
that
doesn't
drive
watch
them,
TV.
that's right. It's
Yeah.
not, guys, it's not rocket science. That market that can afford those cars, they're not watching television, like they are at some point in their day, maybe, but there's a reason for that, and so, I don't want to take away all the coolness of certain things, but it's like it's not what it seems always.
Yeah.
um
So the law of attraction, that was popularized by the book The Secret and the movie The Secret. And the problem with the law of attraction is where people think that, I just have to desire a Lamborghini and it'll appear. It's the law of attraction works where you have clarity on what you want, but then you need a clearly defined plan of how to achieve it, and you have to put in the work. So there is the law of attraction where, if you want a yellow car, you start seeing yellow cars everywhere. There's all that stuff, but it doesn't mean just thinking of what you want and then assuming it's going to come. You got to put in the work.
right.
Yeah, and your analogy about the backpack and the stones reminds me of a story from Steve Harvey. So he had an old beat up car that he just had in the driveway. This is back when he lived with his parents, and he wanted this new car and he just never got it, never got it. And at one point, I think his mom or someone says, well, where are you going to put this new car? Like, we have room for one car and you have that old beat up car with, flat tires that's there. You don't even have anywhere to store the new car. So he gets rid of the car, and within a few days, he got the new car. And he shares that story telling the audience, maybe you're in a relationship where you got to get rid of that old car. And he shares a story where, he knew this woman that she was dating someone that wasn't good for her, and every few days they'd go out to this restaurant, and there was this really nice server, and she was just never leaving this relationship even though she knew she should. And then one day she ends that relationship, and she comes in alone for the first time to that restaurant, and the server, the guy says, essentially he's had a crush on her this whole time, but she always came in with that guy that was clearly her partner. So he never did anything. So he asked her about like, why are you here alone? And oh, the relationship ended. And he just flat out tells her. And that was, she removed the car with the flat tires, and the new car shows up. So
That's it, man. And the scariest thing though is taking the car out of the parking space, right? I mean, that's everyone wants to know, well, how do you do that? I've met people that say, oh, well, Dave, you're not married, or you don't have children, or you don't this, but like, I get it. You're right. But it's also a choice I made to not put myself in that situation. And that's the hard thing to say to someone, because then in the moment, they can't separate their personal anger for what they're dealing with you just spitting truth, you know? And my mom always told me growing up, you make your bed, you lay in it. But I think you can make your bed and lay in it, but also it can be a comfortable bed, so things don't have to be as hard as you think they are. And I just try to show people that anything is possible, but you got to really want it, and you got to really, really work hard for it, for sure. But yeah,
So I've been hearing the singles on the radio quite a bit. I don't know if you remember this, but back in the summer, I had this craving for a steak. I just needed a steak. So I walk, it's an hour walk to a Montana's, and the pandemic's happening. You can't eat inside. So I have takeout steak, which is weird, right? It's like never cooked right by the time you eat it. So I have takeout steak. I'm sitting outside of Montana's. I'm eating the steak with salad and beans, and there's speakers on the outside. And
right.
Suddenly I recognize this song, and it was your song. So it was Couldn't Hurt was playing in outside of Ottawa in Canada at a Montana's, and this is my friend's song. This was like at the start of everything getting pretty crazy. So I actually filmed it and I sent it to you, or I posted it and tagged it or something.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, oh shit, okay, things are moving along here, which is pretty cool. So my question is, the two singles are doing well. I have yet to see any music videos. So there's lyric videos. Are there any plans to make music videos for one or both of those singles?
Excuse me. There is.
Yo, get that handsome face on video. What are you doing?
I don't know. I don't want to be in a music video. Like,
I don't know. Get actors or have it as a live performance where you're in your element or something.
No, I know. I don't know. There is plans to do a video. I just, I don't know. I'm weird about that stuff. I'm just kind of like,
just from a marketing perspective, that's like one of the biggest ways that you can, help promote that, right? You get a music video, and it's like it gets a whole new release as a single.
Oh, for sure. And no, we are planning on it. We actually have them all planned out and plotted out. But I think things are just slowly starting now to go back to, some kind of normalcy. And so, but when things started to loosen up, we started entering into the winter months, fall months, which is not the ideal time to shoot, especially for these songs. So I think that's definitely going to be something in the early new year that'll come out.
And for the album, did you write all the songs, or did you co-write all the songs? Were there collaborations?
Yeah, it's a mixture of collaborations and co-writes, as well as other writers being involved. And but it was everything was recorded in Oshawa, actually. So we did everything here in Ontario. But yeah, there was not a lot of people know this. But do you remember the Moffats?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
they were a boy band, and then as they grew up, they turned into more of a rock band. They were awesome.
Yeah. So the Moffats wrote Behind Bars. And
like all three or four brothers, or one of them, or
the two brothers. The two brothers were writers on it, and which I think is awesome, man. I mean, like the Moffats were, they had that song. Remember that song, Misery?
Yeah. They were huge when we were kids
in high school. Yeah. So yeah, the two brothers, are behind bars, which I think is really cool. And but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people involved on this record, a lot.
So let's dive into each song then. So let's go in the order of the album. The first song's Behind Bars, which is what we're talking about anyways. So the Moffats were a part of the record or part of the writing, sorry for that. Where did the idea come from?
Mm-hmm.
For that play on words of behind bars normally meaning being in jail, and behind bars can be sitting behind a bar having a drink, and you're kind of imprisoned there with that vice and trying to get over a relationship or a breakup. So where did that idea come from? Is that you or the Moffats? And I have something funny. I have a friend that's a lawyer who's a big fan, and she didn't want me to name her because she's a lawyer, and this is kind of funny. She wanted to know.
She's a fan of mine.
She's a fan of yours.
Oh
So
wow.
we when we first met, um, she was already a big fan. I was like, oh, that's a friend of mine. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, we used to hang out and play poker. I'm like, I could get him on a FaceTime right now. She's like, no.
That's hilarious.
So she doesn't want to be named because she wants to know if Behind Bars is actually a love song involving a lawyer. That's what she wants to know. If it was Behind Bars, if that is a song about a lawyer love affair, and she might just be projecting her deepest desires, which is why
she's gonna kill you for that, bro.
Nope. This is why she said I could say this, but this is why I cannot give out any names.
I love it. I love
confidentiality, right? Not that I'm her client or anything, but yeah.
That is pretty funny. No, it's not. I haven't had any crazy love affairs with any lawyers. But yeah, it's really
There's the first time for everything.
Yeah, that's become things, right?
There you go.
No, I haven't. It wasn't no. So I think the answer to the question is there were 4 writers on that song: Bob Moffat, Clint Moffat, Shelley Skidmore, and Jacob Davis. And it was my interpretation of the song. The song was slightly, when I first heard it, it was slightly different. The music and the vibe was definitely different. Certain lines I had changed and suggested changes to, just to better fit how I saw the song and what it meant to me. And when I first heard the song, the meaning that I got from it was very different from, I think, what the original concept was. And a great example of something like that is with Hurt, Johnny Cash. It's a 9 Inch Nails song. So it just meant something completely different for me. And Behind Bars, because I'm not a big drinker, I have a few drinks here and there, but I'm not a big bar guy. And I actually spent very little time in bars in my younger days. It wasn't until I started, playing and doing shows and the karaoke and stuff where I was back in the bar, but yeah, it was my interpretation, what it meant to me, mixed with, with what they had done.
So this is a random question, but so you just mentioned you're not a big drinker, but all 8 songs reference alcohol somewhere, whether it's wine or whiskey or a drink or beer or whatever. So as someone that's not a big drinker, I'm just curious, did it just happen that there's, alcohol mentioned in all 8 songs, or, is it the fan base where that's what country fans want to hear about, is drinking, having a good time? I'm just curious if you even knew that, if you're kind of seeing every song individually and maybe not as a whole. Maybe you didn't even know that there's a mention, they're playful mentions of, she had a glass of wine at night, or, it's not like 8 songs about being alcoholics or something, but I just wanted to ask about that little detail.
I'm so happy that you made that observation, because no, I did not realize that. And I'm glad you made the observation, because my message from the beginning, even after with Thoughts Become Things and Record and Whiskey Won't, and my whole thing from the beginning is we are in an industry that glorifies drinking and partying, and I think all of that's fine and all of that's fun, but we also need to realize that we are responsible for what happens after the party. My song Whiskey Won't talks about what whiskey won't do, and that it's not going to fix your problems. It's not going to bring someone back from the dead. So the playful mention of drinking in my songs is to say, like couldn't hurt, another Bud Light never hurt nobody. I mean, in theory, if you want to be literal, eventually a Bud Light could put someone over, in the sense of being intoxicated and they shouldn't drive. I don't think there's anything wrong with partying. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting drunk. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting high, smoking some weed. Just be responsible. Don't be an idiot. So I think just because there's a mention, and I know you're not saying this, but just because there's a mention of alcohol in every single song, I enjoy a drink, and I enjoy, I smoke weed when it's appropriate because it helps me sleep and it just relaxes me from all the shit that's going on, because I'm still a person at the end of the day. But what I don't sing about is, let's all
Drinking
just
and driving
let's
or
all
anything
just get shit
nefarious.
faced and
Yeah.
like, I mean, you're, I'm not about getting drunk, so you're never going to hear me preach about that, but to say, have a Bud Light, it couldn't hurt, or she's sipping on a glass of wine, or, I mean, that there's nothing wrong with that. And that's very normal. And it's funny because, I mean, this is what I was talking about the other day with someone. I was like, when we write songs or we release songs, there are fans out there that are listening. And there are people that will listen to the record and go, wow, he talked about, this a lot. I wonder what that means. And so we are responsible for that, and I love that you made that observation. That's it's incredible. But it was never
What's
intentional.
Yeah, what's funny is, you might have written 30 songs for this album, and those just happen to be the 8 best songs or the ones that work best together. It doesn't mean that every song you write has drinking in it. It was just an observation, and I wanted to ask about it. So the next song is Drove Me Country.
Mhm.
So I like that. I like that term. And see, I was there around the time of the breakup,
You
and
were.
she literally drove you country. You went from
Yeah.
the city to the country. You dove into music full time, into country music. So it
Mhm.
actually was that breakup that literally drove you country, which is pretty insane. Um, so how much did that breakup play a part in you deciding to go full time? It's almost like things couldn't get worse. And I had one more question here. Oh, and I felt a Sam Hunt influence in the chorus of that song. Is Sam Hunt an artist that you like and that you enjoy listening to? And yeah.
All I can think about when you're saying all of that was the last time you were in my condo, she helped me make the UFC cheese platter. Um, and it's just, do you remember that when I had the cheese platter
Dude,
and it
okay.
said UFC
Hold
with the
hold
cheese?
hold that thought. So I am prepared. I mean, I have 3 pages of questions here. And we only have so much time, so we need to dive into the music, but I have some
Right.
stuff that's not music. So I actually have later on, listen to this. It's funny you bring this up because you didn't read these questions.
No, I didn't.
So I put, you know, a little thing about UFC, that you're a UFC fan. I went to your place to watch Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 2, and you had the
Mhm.
craziest charcuterie board I've ever seen. There were like 5 of us, and you had enough food for like 20 people. I'm pretty sure you spend hundreds of dollars. Who are your favorite UFC fighters, and do you still watch the fights? So that was a question coming later. So yes, I do remember. I was gonna say you're like the best host ever. So if ever David invites you over for a party or Christmas or Halloween or something, you got to go because he's going broke just
Yeah.
hosting. So
Yeah, the charcuterie and UFC cheese is pretty serious.
I forgot that it said UFC. I just
Yeah.
remember it being like the size of the counter. And we were there all night. And then when we're leaving, there's still 93% of the charcuterie board there to show how much excessive stuff there was.
Oh, it's so good. I forgot the question. It was
So
original.
so it was about the song Drove Me Country. How much
Yeah.
did that breakup influence you taking a chance on your career? Is there a Sam Hunt influence on that song, or are you a fan?
Right.
I'm a big fan of Sam Hunt. I think he's great. Yeah.
Sam Hunt's going to be at Boots and Hearts next year, 2022.
I saw
They
that with
just announced
Shania
that.
Twain.
It's crazy. Yeah. Okay. So no, Sam Hunt didn't directly influence that song. But I think somewhere in there, there's a lot of people that influence me because I listen to music nonstop all day long. So those little styles and flares and things just kind of get in there. In terms of the influence that Sarah had, she had all the influence really, because I'll tell you a really quick story. I'll make it really, really fast. I remember being, and I may have told you this story before, but I remember being in the washroom singing on my phone to a karaoke app. And Sarah was out in the living room watching television. I'm obviously not going to, I went in the washroom so I don't disrupt her. And anyway, I recorded the song on my phone on this karaoke app, and I came out into the living room, and I was like, it was a commercial, and I was like, hey, babe, I'm like, I just recorded this thing on this karaoke app on my phone. Take a listen. It sounds really good. And she's like, yeah, I heard you. And I was like, no. Like, what do you mean? She's like, I could hear you singing through the walls in the bathroom. And I'm like, no, like put the headphones on so you can like hear with the music. And she's like, I heard you. I just told you I heard you. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I want you. She's like, no, you don't understand. I heard you. And I left the apartment and I went for a walk outside, and I had a moment of like, am I a fool? I'm 33 years old, and I obviously I don't want to let the whole singing thing go. And am I a fool? Like, this woman is obviously not interested, doesn't think I'm good enough, or doesn't care. What am I doing? Maybe I should really just stop this karaoke stuff. I did the Boston Pizza Idol 5 years in a row, couldn't win it, like go out and do these shows and these contests, and I never win. And I'm like, maybe it's time, and I was in my lowest point. So I did stupid shit like throw parties and spend $500 on, cheese and meats, and trying to impress people, trying to find a way to, boost my confidence back up and be that super cool guy that everyone thought was awesome. And, but it was just money, right? It's easy to be popular when you throw money around. But I was never truly happy, even with the condo and the girl and the nice cars. And, it was deep down inside, I wasn't truly happy, So when she left so quickly, it was just like, I'm out, I'm leaving tomorrow. It's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? What do you mean you're leaving? We've been together for 3 years.
Where are you going? And when
where
are you
going? Back? Yeah. It made me realize like anybody can do this to you. Anybody can pretend to love you and pretend to be with you, and then all of a sudden just go, nope. So I'm like, why am I going to allow another person to control me and control where I'm going and how I'm getting there and how long I'm going to stay for? And so when she ripped the Band-Aid off, it's like, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like she was setting me free. She was releasing the chains, and I hated her for a long time. And I was upset with her for a long time. But then I saw this video by Medea, Tyler Perry, called Let It Go. You got to look up Medea, Let It Go. And that allowed me to get over Sarah immediately. That video, it was, Joel, it was crazy. I was watching this video, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, I get it. I totally understand every single relationship that didn't work out. and why in that video. I mean, it was life changing, you know. And then I wrote the song. I mean, we're getting in the rabbit hole here, buddy.
We're
Then I
going
wrote
we're going deep in the weeds. I
then
like
then
it.
I then I wrote the song "Letting You Go," which is on the EP. You know, because I saw the video "Let It Go" from Tyler Perry on Facebook. It just randomly popped up on Facebook. Someone shared it. You know, it randomly popped up. You know, it's nothing is random, buddy. Everything has a purpose, and it's just whether we choose to accept it or not. And when I wrote that song "Letting You Go," and I remember I put it on Facebook, and you messaged me, and you know, we were friends at this point for a couple of years, several years, and you said, "Hey man, I'm having this open mic at Marco Polo, you know, I could probably still find the message, you know, come and play your sad song at my show."
Yeah, come depress everyone so they drink more and we have a bigger tab, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, it was like, and that's where it started, right? That's where it started. It was like just doing that kind of stuff. And so yeah, she had everything to do with it because um, you know, she was in my parking space, you know, and shit couldn't happen until she left. So once she left and she freed up, like I said, I'm not coming home now to hang out with Sarah. I'm coming home from work and I'm like, what karaoke bar can I hit up tonight? What open mic can I go and hang out at? You know, my thoughts started to change. And I remember working at that HVAC company still. And I started working less. And the owner was getting mad because, you know, he's losing money. And he called me in for a meeting one day because I guess he was getting concerned that I was slowly drifting away. And when I walked in the office, he said to me, he goes, look at you, look at your hair, look at your beard. You look more like a country singer than you do a salesperson. And I'll never forget it, brother. The office manager was sitting there in the room, and she said to him, she's like, I think that's a compliment for him. I'll never forget that. And you know, it's like, and look at what happened, dude. It's mental. So, you know, he was no different than Sarah was. He didn't care about me or what I wanted in my life. All he cared about was how many furnaces I could push in a month. You know, and unfortunately, because I mean, money makes the world turn, you know, in terms of business, money's important, business is important, but we also got to remember that, you know, at the end of the day, you need people to work and you need people to be passionate about what they're doing in order for it to actually reach any level of success. And you know, we are going to be so much happier and so much more successful as individuals if we are able to monetize something that we're truly passionate about, because you can't live for free, you know, but you also can't work to live either.
Hmm. The next song on the album is "Till I Found You." You mentioned that it's a big audience has shown up for that song on one of the streaming platforms, to your surprise, right? Normally it's most of the focus is on the singles because that's what everyone's pushing. What was that song written about someone specific? And how important is it for us to be open to unexpected things happening, like a chance encounter when you go out?
It was wrote about somebody specifically, that I met, and you know, that person really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and I learned a lot from meeting that person, and I think, you know, "Till I Found You" is really a song about hope. You know, it's the concept came from being in a small town, and you know, a dude being in a small town, and he's just kind of, he's going to the same water hole every single night. You know, nothing changes in a small town, and he's just kind of sick of it. You know, he's just like, I don't, you know, I'm just sick and tired of this place. I want something new. And he's very negative almost, you know. And this girl walks in that he's never seen before, you know, because he goes there every single night. Or every other night, whatever, and has a beer or two, and he just sees this new face, and he's just, you know, you see in a small town when a new person shows up, it's like everybody's like, who's that? You know,
Yeah.
and and he just the vision I had is to paint the picture of, you never know what's around the corner. You never know what tomorrow will bring. And so that allows us to always be looking forward to something. Until I Found You is just, it's a true story about a guy meeting a girl and having his life completely turned upside down. So it's, yeah, it's a fun song, and people seem to be enjoying it.
Nice. So up next is Couldn't Hurt. That's how important is this song to your career? I mean, this is the song that really broke through on radio, that led to this album being released and led to Behind Bars now being a chart topper. How pivotal was the success of this single for you?
The craziest thing is the song landed, it ended up peaking at 33 on the Billboard Top 100, and which is nuts to have a top 30. And I don't think you really truly know what it means. You just see it on paper, you see it in emails, because I've played, I think, maybe 10 shows this year, which I'm very grateful for. But normally, we'd have like 60, right? So by the time the song hit the top 30, we had only played it live once, which is crazy, right? Because it
Yeah.
went out during the pandemic. So what I will say is, playing Boots and Hearts this year, which was incredible. That was probably one of the only major festivals that we played, because opportunities were low this year because of COVID. But seeing fans in the audience scream out, "It couldn't hurt," you and I come from a time of garage bands and selling CDs. There was no Spotify. It was Napster, and we weren't on Napster.
Yeah, no
But
lawsuits on this
no,
podcast. Yeah.
no, but we grew up in a different time, and people didn't know our songs because we had nowhere to, we didn't even have CDs back then. So it's just a different time now where people can, I just found out I'm charting in Australia, you know, um, and the internet is just such a powerful thing, so to see people singing along, it's incredible. And I'm very, very grateful.
Now, the fifth song, five, six, seven, eight, the fifth song on the album is my favorite song. So it'll have a special place in your heart, always knowing this is Joel's favorite song on the album. So One Last Look Around. Love this song. It's said that as artists and musicians, that our heartbreak is other people's entertainment. Does that ring true to you at all?
um yeah,
Because
I
without the
get.
heartbreak, there's no art, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So
no,
take
for
away
sure.
that relationship, and how many songs on this album still exist, right? So
Mhm.
um, that's a quote that hit me, that every time we go through a heartbreak or someone passes away, all that stuff is where the we have to express ourselves, and the songs
Mhm.
come out, and the paintings and the books. Does that resonate with you at all?
For sure. I think I remember when I was flying down to Nashville to record Thoughts Become Things, the first album. We were descending into Nashville, and I was sitting in my seat looking out the window, and I was crying. And my producer leaned over to me and he's like, "You okay, man?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, man." He's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "It just sucks that I had to lose my best friend for this to happen, because I really thought at the time that Sarah was my best friend." And looking back, like I said, I'm so grateful for everything that's happened, and I'm thankful that she left. But we did have some great memories, and she's not a bad person. She was just stronger than me and ripped the band-aid off and set us both free. So I've never spoken poorly of her, but I have always been very vocal about the truth and what happened. And One Last Look Around, is exactly what it says. It was one last look around the condo before I left.
Taking the pictures off the wall and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's as real as it gets, man. And I think, as a matter of fact, and this isn't something I talk about, but you met her, the situation. You were one of the very few people that ever stood inside of that space that I sing about and have been talking about for the last 4 years. Um, but that song is specifically that song. That was a very hard song for me to cut, because there's just a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling wrapped up in that. But in order for me to let go of the resentment and to let go of that negativity, I had to come to a full understanding of, we as humans make the mistake of giving lifetime expectations to people that are only supposed to be there for a season. And then we get disappointed when, when they fail us, or they disappoint us. But it's actually our fault for giving them such responsibilities, when they were only supposed to be there for a season, and we're trying to keep them there for a lifetime. And you got to watch that Let It Go Medea movie, because Tyler Perry does this beautiful story about the tree of life, and how the tree is a resemblance of people, and the leaves, and I won't ruin it, but man, oh man, when I heard that, it changed my life. And One Last Look Around surfaced at the beginning of all of this, and it kind of sat in my back pocket, because I wasn't ready to put it out yet. I needed to grow more, and I needed to find myself more, because I knew when this song went out, I'd have a lot of explaining to do. And I wanted to make sure that mentally I was in a healthy place, that I could explain it properly, and share the story. So
I remember seeing I think it was a picture or a quote or something, and it's about breakups. So I went through a breakup as well after you did, and it was about a tree. The tree is letting go of all the leaves. A tree is able to just stand there naked, letting go of all its trees, knowing another season is coming. There was like a powerful quote about a tree, which you talking about the Medea kind of reminded me of. So I'll have to, I wrote it down. So I'll check out that video, and I'll
dude,
message you.
it's incredible. And when
Is it going to get me in the feels?
I think what the most powerful thing about it is, it just helps you. For me, it allowed me, it allowed me to forgive myself for things that I wasn't perfect at, and it allowed me to forgive other people for things that they weren't perfect at. And I think, with One Last Look Around, in the chorus, it talks about, how did we come down to, we can't even be in the same damn room. It's like, how, it's funny. You meet people, right? And they go through a breakup, and they're like, oh, you're better off, the hell with that person. And it's like, you can say that. And I get it. You're just trying to be a good friend, but let's also remember that at some point in time, that person was exactly what you wanted. Like, let's not forget that, and we get blinded by love and lust, or what we think is love. And, and in that song, it said, like, there's another line where it's like, well, what the hell do I do now? That's exactly how I felt. That is as raw and honest, and not trying to say it in a cool way. It's just like, that's exactly what I felt like. I mean, this chick slid me a ginger ale and told me she's heading out in the morning. I'm like, what are you
At least you got
talking
a
about?
ginger ale out of it. I mean, it could have been worse.
I love ginger ale, bro.
Yeah, we need a ginger ale sponsorship. So track 6 is Safe Place to Break. So why is it important that we all have a safe place to break, and good people that we can be vulnerable around?
I think mental health is so incredibly important. And I think it is extremely important for people that have platforms, and the opportunity to reach the masses, to educate and encourage others to being open to talking about your problems, or your struggles, or your issues. And there's a difference between talking about your issues with people and bitching about, you know, things that you feel are unfair. Because chances are, if you're one of those people that just bitches about stuff all the time, a lot of the problems that you're attracting, or well, I just said it, a lot of the problems that are in your life, you're attracting them into your life. So
Because of
when you
the energy you're giving out and
a
your
hundred,
thoughts and
yeah, 100%. My theory is like, you know, your thoughts are like Wi-Fi signals, right? If you're sending out negative thoughts, negative Wi-Fi signals, we live in an age of technology, then you're attracting what you're thinking about, right? So, you know, I had a photographer once show up to my hotel room right before a show, and he walked in the room, a very calm room, everyone's cool, and he walked in, he's like, "Oh man, oh, the traffic was crazy," and it was just this energy. And I walked over to him and I grabbed him by the shoulders and I said, "Shh, stop, stop right now." And he was like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Shh, stop. Don't bring that shit in here. This is a calm, happy place. We're all eating pizza and drinking lemonade. It's good. Chill the fuck out." Yeah. And he just kind of, he's like, "Oh, sorry, man." And I'm like, you know, we don't realize that we're carrying this energy. We don't realize that we're just like, you know, like a bull in a china shop, you know? Um, and then there are other people that they don't come in the room and they don't freak out and start, you know, being loud and obnoxious. They're just quiet all the time. They don't talk, they don't say nothing. They keep everything bottled up inside. And that creates a whole different energy and environment, you know? And I think the more that we shine light on, hey, I feel like that too sometimes. You know, I also randomly just cry sometimes. I also feel, you know, like I don't have someone to talk to sometimes. And, you know, so I think Safe Place to Break is not my song. It actually belongs to Josh David, is an artist from out west who is incredible. But Josh David, Jeff Johnson, and Dane Christopher wrote that song. And first time I heard it, I mean, you know, it resonated with me. And I encourage everyone to go check out the original. But I called up Josh David and I was like, "Dude, I love this song. It really means something to me. I'm going through something right now. And can I cut it? Can I put it on my album?" Um, you know, my take on the song is a little different from his. Um, you know, and he was, you know, he was like, "Absolutely." And when you listen to that song, um, you know, you can hear it. You know, there was there was shit going on, and there's still stuff going on that I deal with on a daily basis. And I just want everyone to know that even though I'm winning contests and all this cool, crazy shit's happening all the time, and you know, I'm still human, and I still also need a safe place to break. And I still have bad days and cry and can't sleep, and just like everybody else, you know, I'm no different. And that's part of breaking down that wall, and just um trying to bring the music closer to the people that support it, and that's the fans.
the pandemic's been really hard on a lot of people for mental health, including myself, because of the isolation, because of the
Mhm.
change in schedules and routines and environments. And you know, sometimes you you know, you look to the future and you think, you know, things are never going to go back to normal. And you know, I prefer the old way of life versus the new way, and you lose hope. And what have you done over the last, you know, year and a half, 2 years to stay positive and stay inspired?
I don't watch television. I don't watch the news
Not
at
even
all.
Squid Games. I'm just joking.
I tried Squid Games, and the first, you know, 30 minutes of that, I I didn't even know what to say. Um, because, you know, I have country radio stations telling my radio team at Warner that behind bars says the word hell too many times in a country song and they don't want to play it at their radio station. Um, what? What are we talking about here? And I don't even care being public about this. And, because it's just horse shit. We got, you go on Netflix, you turn on Squid Games and you have 150 people getting murdered for no reason because they're playing red light, green light. And you're not going to play my song because I said hell. What?
Yeah, someone can
Like,
say heaven and hell, but they can't
oh,
use the term hell
oh
itself.
man,
Yeah.
dude, I'm just so sick of the cancel culture, and I'm so sick of like everyone having this such a soft opinion on everything, man. It's like, it's just silly to me. And but whatever, want to play my song because it says hell, I guess don't play it. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe I shouldn't have
it's
brought up Squid Games. Maybe that was the
yeah.
wrong example. I'm
Well,
just
I mean,
joking.
I get it. It's a TV, it's a show, it is what it is, but it's I don't know. When you just hear stuff like that, it
Yeah.
really, you know, my how about the fact that it's a song about someone dusting themselves off and getting up and doing something productive? How about that? How about you get to know the artist and what the song actually means and understand the message behind it? And then the word hell doesn't seem so bad, does it? The word
Where do you say hell in the song? I'm just trying to think of.
go to hell. She said go to hell.
Oh,
You know,
yeah. It's.
like
I mean,
but
it'd be more aggressive if you were the one saying it, but
right.
that someone said it to you sounds more passive. You know.
Yeah, and like and the other thing is that it's real. That happens in real life, but I mean, it is what it is. Everyone's going to have an opinion no matter what you do, and um you can't make everybody happy, man. That's what I was trying to do before all this shit started, and it got me nowhere. So, I can just put the music out, and some people are going to like it, some people are going to hate it, and I already know that, and I'm okay with that because I'm not selling furnaces anymore, so I'm happy.
So we're talking about how you stay happy and inspired and positive during the pandemic. So what we got out of that was you don't watch TV.
Oh,
And
sorry.
any other things. That's all good,
Yeah.
man. That's why a podcast
Um,
is not a 2 minute interview where you can't deep dive. We're allowed to
um,
get sidetracked and jump in the weeds.
I think it's fair. I think you need to have a place that grounds you, and you got to stay busy and keep practicing your craft. For me, it's a combination of being up north fishing and spending a lot of time at the cabin, and also practicing and rehearsing and trying to book shows. And I did a lot of songwriting over Zoom. The final song on my record outside of Right as Rain is Fool's Gold, and I wrote that on Zoom during the pandemic. So you gotta, how bad do you want it, right? Even during a lockdown, how bad do you really want to write music? So we find ways to be creative. We overcome those challenges, and we just keep pushing forward no matter what's going on, because it's truly what we want to do.
Hmm. The final two songs on the album, Right as Rain and Fool's Gold, like you just mentioned. Right as Rain, is that a vision of you getting married someday? And um, when did you realize that the term Right as Rain could make for a good song title or a good song?
So Right as Rain was written by Trent Harmon, Jimmy Thau, and Alan Poetker. And it's a song that when I heard it for the first time, I thought, one day I want that to be real. Um, and if anything has proven to be true, is that thoughts really do become things. So, I threw that song. I put that song on the album because I wanted to sing it into existence. I would love to get married one day and have all that stuff. And Right as Rain is my message to the universe that that's something that I'd like to see in the future.
And Fool's Gold, so last song on the album, you had the good job, you were making the money, you had the nice condo, and that didn't bring happiness. So when did you realize that happiness is in being present, in um, enjoying the little things and being grateful and surrounding yourself with good people? When did you realize that the money isn't everything?
I didn't really truly realize that on, I'd say 2018, in the summer of 2018. At this point, I had built the band and we started doing a couple of shows, and I started to see what music was bringing back into my life and how felt so differently about it. And also, I was working less and less in HVAC. And then eventually, I think once I left HVAC, once I said, goodbye to the guaranteed income, that, as we say, the burning the boats, that's when it changes your motivation and you start realizing like, okay, well, I don't have a job now. So now I have to figure out how I'm going to survive. Um, and I think when I started to see what music was really doing for me and all these new people that were coming into my life and new friends that I was making, and, that's when, you start to see like you made the right call, you made the right choice. And even all those contests that I lost, it's like I was never upset about it. I just really liked being there. It was just fun. And it's crazy because, Demetrius Nath is someone that we both know. And I remember Demetrius and I going to the second cup by Square One to talk about going to radio for the first time. And, we talked about how he came out and he was a judge in these singing contests and stuff. And, he's given me the 1-2 punch on how radio works. And, him and I have shared some success stories, and it's just wild, man. It's it's wild. You gotta really, really be focused. And yeah.
What do you think are the biggest differences between the new album, Drove Me Country, and your 2018 album, Thoughts Become Things? What do you think are the biggest difference, whether it's in the songs or the sound or the growth, or what do you think?
I think Thoughts Become Things was a reflection of what I thought I needed to do. In terms of sound, I didn't know my sound. I didn't know my sound then. I was finding it. And the new album is a perfect reflection of where I've landed, and what's currently going on in my life. And Fool's Gold, for example, is a perfect description of where I am currently and how I feel about stuff. You know, family, friends, music, good times, you know, that's what's most important. Everything else is fool's gold. I feel like when you chase that dragon or you let your ego get a hold of you, you're going to sink real quick. But when you realize that it's really about your personal growth as a person, and music for me is just my healer. And whether I get a headlining tour or I don't, doesn't, that's not what's important. What's important is that people are finding some peace, some serenity, some happiness, some joy, some answers within the music that I'm creating. And everything else is just fool's gold.
So before this last question, you were talking about having done all those competitions and never winning them until the Boots and Hearts. I think I think you need all of those other competitions as experience to win, to go on to win Boots and Hearts. I think if Boots and Hearts is the first thing that you do, that you don't have the result that you want. You know what I mean? That's why it's so important. We think of, finishing second or third or whatever in these competitions as failure because you didn't win. But I think that's kind of you developing your craft and learning the control of your voice and learning how to interact with the audience and banter between songs. So I feel like all of that stuff where, oh, I didn't win, you know, maybe I shouldn't have even done those. That's actually a part of the journey and the growth. And that led you to the actual opportunity that changed everything, and you being ready to, you know, having everything in place to win the one that matters. And I've seen it described that way when it comes to dating as well. So we think of all the like horrible dates we've been on, or, you know, the relationships that didn't go well. And if from day one, so let's say in 3 weeks, you meet like the actual one woman for you that you want to marry. If you have never gone on dates, you've never been in relationships, there's no way you're going to get that one person that you want, because you don't know how to interact on dates and you don't know how to be a better partner. You know, the first relationship, you didn't pay any attention to her, and you learned from that and you paid more attention to the second one. And the second one, you never opened the doors and bought flowers and you know, the gifts of whatever. And I feel like that's the same way with the competitions to being ready for the one opportunity, and the same thing with dating and being ready for the right person. You've over time, through those struggles and those experiences, you've become the person that's capable of attracting and of kind of being worthy of the partner that you're looking for. Does that make any sense? Maybe I just went off.
No. It makes a whole lot of sense. But I also believe, because I've had this conversation with someone that, you know, I know people that, you know, met one person and, you know, have only been with one person their entire life. And I've said to them, how do you know that this is the right person for you? Like, shit. I mean, at least, you know, you got to try something else, you know? And they're like, no, I don't need to. I'm so happy with what I have. And I mean, hey, that does exist too. But you're right. You know, for me, it built a callus, and I just expected going into it, you know, like, expect nothing. Don't. And it's hard because you're excited. You know, I've been in contests where there was $5,000, $10,000 prize, cash prizes. I mean, I need that money.
You know, give me the money.
You know, I could use that for, you know, all kinds of shit. But, you know, so it's hard. You know, anyone that is in a contest or a competition or whatever and says they don't care if they win, they're full of shit. We all want to win. That's just natural. But you gotta, I think what changes the head, the mind game that we deal with is, why do you want to win? That's the difference. You know, for me, it's, I guess, I love to perform. You know, I went into the karaoke contest thinking, I just want to make the finals. I don't care if I win. I just want to make the finals, because I knew the finals was always going to be a packed bar and I'll get to sing some cool shit and it'll be fun. You know, same with Boots and Hearts. I was like, oh, I hope I make the top two. Like, that was my goal. You know, I wanted to play the main stage at Boots and Hearts, you know, and winning it was just crazy. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I feel you're right. Those open mics and all those years of doing those contests and stuff, it's a lot easier when you've been in a high pressure situation before, because I've seen artists in these contests do great in other venues, and all of a sudden they get up on the big stage and they've never had that much pressure, and they fold, because it's a lot to ask of a human being to go stand in front of your dream and kick it straight in the nuts. You know, I mean, that's a lot to ask somebody to do. I mean, think about it. You know, UFC is such a great example for so many different reasons, is because when you watch these people fight, and I don't know about you, but if someone punched me in the face, the amount of adrenaline that would run through my body, I don't know what I would do. I would just go savage, But like these fighters are getting they're in a ring with a professionally trained
Assassin.
martial artist, assassin, human assassinator, and they're getting punched and elbowed and kicked and pulled on and twisted and turned, and they stay calm and they don't allow the adrenaline to focus on not having the guy's knee in their throat. I mean, that is an incredible ability that you can control your emotions that much. Same with, think of baseball players. They're throwing the pitch, bottom of the ninth. Bases are loaded, 3 balls, 2 strikes, and there's 50,000 people watching you throw this ball. Don't screw up, because if you do, you're going to be on the front page of every newspaper tomorrow, and you're going to be the biggest asshole in the city. And they close their eyes and they take a breath. If you watch them, same with basketball, they always take a breath before they throw the ball, if on the free throw line, and they block that shit out. And I told someone recently, I said, if I was a basketball player, when you do the free throws, how they have people behind the nets with those things and they clap them to try and distract them. I would like hire 100 of my closest friends to come over and just make as much noise as possible for a solid hour once a week, so I could practice throwing a ball with that distraction. That's where my head is at with that kind of stuff. And what people don't know is that I drove out to some of these festivals before the stages were even built. And I went to the field and I imagined what this festival was going to be like. And I imagined the chaos and I saw it in my mind so I could prepare for it when I actually came to see it in reality. So it wasn't such a shock. And it's no difference, like Cool Runnings, that bathtub scene where Doris Bannock is in the bathtub with the guys, and they're practicing their turns in a bathtub. People do that in real life because they want to visualize. I've seen hockey players sit in the stands and visualize the hockey game before it even happens. um it's incredible, man, what we can do with our minds and prepare for stuff like that. So it definitely played a part for sure. And they were some incredible memories.
You mentioned some iconic artists like Ray Charles and Frank Sinatra. Who would you say are your top musical influences? And then, do you have any all-time favorite albums that you always go back to listen to?
I mean, I love Frank because Frank and Dean Martin together, even separate, it was a very magical thing that they had on stage. Their music is undeniably good. It's timeless. And but it was their personality. There was something special about them when they came out on the stage. They just captivated you. And so in terms of performance and personality, those are my two favorites. In
And then
terms of,
influence on your music itself.
yeah, music itself. I love Ray Charles, man. Ray Charles is if I had to pick one voice to listen to for the rest of my life, I'd go with Ray Charles. But I have a lot of different influences: Ray Charles, Garth Brooks, Lenny Kravitz. I'm a huge Coldplay fan. Dallas Green from City in Color. They all have something really special. Garth Brooks in terms of country music, George Jones. They all in different ways influence me as an artist. Shania Twain is, they're mountain movers, from the earlier days. I got to meet Paul Brandt in 2019, which is incredible. I grew up listening to him my whole life. And they all have something, little tiny things that they give you. And there's so many other artists that I'm not mentioning that influence me in some way, shape, or form. But for me, I've always just thought it was incredible how Garth could just walk out in front of 100,000 people and control the entire room with his performances. And and all of the people I've mentioned have that ability, you know. Um, but favorite album? Oh man. Man, that is a really hard question to answer.
Or any favorite songs, anything?
Wow, I mean, it's such a hard question to answer because like there's so many songs. You know what I mean? There's so many things that
David,
I
give our listeners something to go check out, man. Give them
oh, you
something.
want something to check out? Okay.
Our listeners are sitting
Yeah,
here, they're queuing up your new album, but then what are they going to listen to? They want to
if I
know
give them
what
if I give them
David
these
would be listening to.
if you want to
If you
know
were on
what
a desert
David
island and you had enough of a charge on your iPhone for, I don't know, 5 albums that you can listen to.
I would listen to Duran Duran's Ordinary World on repeat for the rest of my life.
Boom. That's all I
Love,
wanted, man. That's all I
you know,
wanted.
but
One album.
you can also go to my Spotify account and follow Drove Me Country playlist that has all my favorite songs. You know, and that'll give you a more in-depth dive into what I like to listen to.
There you go. We got the goods out of him. We got his actual playlist. So on your social media, you recently posted a picture of a fan that got your logo tattooed on their arm. So 2 questions. Number one, what does that logo represent? And number two, a fan getting that tattoo, is that flattering or does that scare you a little bit?
For,
Discourse.
First of all, thank you for asking about my logo. You are the first person ever in the history of my interviews to ask me what does the logo mean. So thank you for that. The logo is a symbol of it's a shield. So the
So you have the
initials.
initials.
Yep, the initials obviously are my name, and then the shield around it with the bull horns at the top. Do you remember, or have you ever seen the trains that have like that shaped shield in front of them and they just plow through the ice and the snow? Have you ever seen that?
Only in like cartoons or like animated
Okay,
stuff.
so
I've
so
not.
that does exist, and it's usually out, you know, where they have severe snowstorms and all that kind of stuff. And so, if you ever see videos on YouTube of these trains that literally just plow through like the craziest conditions, that's where I kind of got the concept from, is to create a shield that is my protector, you know, as we plow through, you know, all the different things that you have to face in this business. And the horns is a sign of strength and, you know, that of a warrior to keep fighting through it and plowing through it. So that's what the logo means. The guy that got it tattooed on his arm, he's the third person that has sent me a tattoo that they've got that is either, you know, related to my music in some way, shape, or form. But he was the first person to actually tattoo the logo. So it was crazy because I was having a really shitty day, actually, the day that he did that. And he randomly texted me a picture of it and said, you know, this is for life or something, and you better not quit music. And so the funniest thing is that I know he was kidding, you know, but I was having a bad day, and it was just cool to get that little message from the universe of like, don't quit music. Don't let, not that I would ever quit music, but don't let what's happening right now affect you, you know? And that's what I was talking about before. It's like, you know, I've created this Frankenstein and now it's walking and I'm responsible for what it does, and what it doesn't do, you know? So I'm incredibly flattered that this dude, you know, thought that highly of me that he was going to go out and get my logo put on his body. And it's not a small tattoo, it's a big tattoo.
Yeah, it's the arm, right?
Yeah, it's the whole upper arm. And it's just, you know, I mean, it's wild, man. It's something that I don't take for granted. And I'm flattered that this guy found something so inspiring in what I'm doing, that he did that. I think that's really, really incredible.
It's funny that you said the term for life, because as you were saying, where, you know, he mentioned, oh, you better do this for life because I have this tattoo for life. as you said, for life, I was thinking this guy should get free tickets to your shows for life or something. Like the term for life was in my head as well. I think that's worthy of something like a free
he
show every year or like a free guest. I don't know, something, man.
he
That's nobody's made that kind of a commitment to me before. So I think that should be honored in some way.
he's definitely going to hear this podcast because I know he checks out um all the stuff that I do, and I'm so grateful that he does that. And he's definitely going to agree with you. But I've done something pretty special for him that he doesn't know about yet. That I'm going to announce in a bit. But yeah,
You're gonna
man,
make him a charcuterie board. I
I'm
like it.
but no, I'm really grateful, and there's a lot of fans out there that may not have gotten a tattoo or anything, but they are diehard supporters, and I love every single one of them. And I started this new thing actually nightly where I go on Instagram live at 9 o'clock. It's called the Porch Hang Thing, and
Has a
we
nice ring
just
to it.
we just sit outside and shoot the shit, and there's no real reason other than just to connect with the community and hang out. So we do that every night at 9 o'clock, and um a lot of people tune in. It's starting to grow, so it's really cool.
That's awesome. So recently, I had Canadian Idol winner Brian Mello on my podcast. We had a great chat. I've been following his podcast, and he's had some amazing guests on. He's had Susie McNeil and Doug Gilmore and Rick the Temp and some amazing people. So I thought, okay, I'm going to see if I can get my boy David Boyd James on there. So I reached out to you first, just seeing if
Mhm.
that's something you'd want to do, and then I reached out to Brian and said, hey. I'm good friends with this guy. He's doing very well with country. He's got a new album. Things are awesome. It would be a good it would be a good episode. And I just saw that. I think today it went live. Right, the
it
episode of you and him. I think I just saw it on Spotify.
it just did. He just released it today, and thank you again for setting that up. It's incredible how alike Brian and I are, and really, really connected with that dude. And not only did that podcast launch today, thanks to you, we're also going to be doing a show December 19th, just outside of Chatham. And I was literally hanging out with him doing the podcast, and I said, "Hey, man, I got the show coming up. Do you want to come and play?" Like, and he's like, "Hell yeah!" And so that's what I mean. It's just weird how it's funny how things come together. It's really, really cool. But yeah, we had a really good chat, and that dropped today.
It's amazing. I'll go check it out. And you mentioned that you've been going live on your social media to hang out with your fans and friends. And I just want to talk about your social media real quick. You show a lot of gratitude on your social media. So you're always saying thank you and being grateful. So why is that important? And then also on your social media, I mean, most people just promote themselves, and you more than anyone that I've seen, you're promoting others. When another artist has a new song or a music video or an album or a concert, you're giving them shout outs. So why, where does that come from that you use your social media selflessly and show gratitude and use it as a platform to help others?
Um, because I really hated the life that I used to have, um, and I love, um, I'm very grateful that I get to make music. And I'm not just saying that because it's some cliche shit that's just going to match the show. It's like, that's really how I feel. And, it's frustrating sometimes when things aren't reciprocated, but I remind myself, I'm not doing it so it's reciprocated. I'm doing it because I'm truly trying to help build a community, and I'm trying to help grow something, you know? And I mean, I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, they have this fear of like, well, I'm not going to tell him these secrets because they'll help him and not help me. And it's just a wrong mentality. I mean, you get an abundance of something when you show an abundance of gratefulness and gratitude for those things. Aaron Allen is one of my good friends, and anytime I get a chance to pull him up, I pull him up. Anytime he gets a chance to pull me up, he pulls me up. And that's how it should be, you know. But we thrive in an industry where there's a lot of egos and there's a lot of people that feel entitled to things. And I'm not going to waste time trying to figure out, that sort of mentality. I'm just going to promote. Like, people message me and they say, "Hey man, I got a new single coming out today. Can you put it on your social media?" And I, like, that's literally what it says. And I open it and I think, you're such an idiot. If you're going to use me to benefit you, at least entertain me for 2 seconds and say, "Hey buddy, how's it going?" Even though you don't give a shit, have the brains to say hello. How are you? How's it going? Before you ask me to do something for you. Like, what are we talking?
There's a term called dig the well before you're thirsty. And that's with
Yeah.
networking. So it's already too late if you're meeting someone for the first time and you're asking for something. It's
Yeah.
so the top secret of networking is to give, and eventually you have a relationship with that person, and by the time you're going to ask for something, you've already given them so much value, you've gotten to know them, that they want to help you back because you've
Yeah.
already shown to be selfless. So that's a good tip for networking for everybody.
And I think too, I'll tell you, and I'm just going to say this because I hope people hear it. Um, you know, it's funny because I do support a lot of other artists, and I do it because I actually like their music. If people hear this and you are someone that has messaged me asking me to share something for you, um, you know, you're stupid for doing it, because I think, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to let somebody use me. That happened 4 years ago and she's gone now. So this is a whole different monster, and those people that are just reaching out to people they don't know and asking them to do something for them, it's terrible character, and I have never once messaged anybody and said, "Hey, can I open for you?" Or, "Hey, can I, I've never once done that ever in this business. And I never will, because if that artist really wants me to come on tour with them, they're going to ask me because they want me to be a part of something they're doing. Just like I reached out to Brian and said, "Hey man, do you want to come and do a show with me?" There's no ego there, but even now I message people and say something like, "Hey, I have a writer's room thing that I started in Toronto, and it's $50 for you to come out and play 4 or 5 songs, and I pay $100 to the feature artist." It's not a lot of money, but everyone else is doing it for free, so I thought that was a step in the right direction. And these people have the balls to tell me contact their manager. What are you talking about? It's a writer's round. I'm giving you an opportunity to come and play at a writer's round or share your music. It's like, and these people are nobodies. We're all on the same playing field. Talk to my manager. It's just silly, man. It's a lot of people playing house, and I don't have time for it, man. It's like, I don't have a manager. I don't have an agent. I'm doing all this shit myself, because before you can get someone else to do something for you, you should learn to do it yourself. Don't be so lazy just passing shit off to people. And that's the problem with today. People are lazy, and they don't want to work for shit. They just want everything to be handed to them, and I don't know. That's truly how I feel. And
We got David Boyd James spitting fire here. I like it. I like
it's the
it.
truth though, man. Like, I'm not trying to hate on anybody. I'm just saying, like, stop. You're losing opportunity by trying to act like a big shot. Seriously. No one's gonna come on a public platform and say this stuff because they're too afraid of the repercussions. Well, I'm telling you, I don't care about the repercussions, because this is me as a real person. And people book me and deal with me because I'm a real person and I don't put myself above other people. So when we start this wall building that I'm talking about, we're not bringing the community closer together. We're separating people. You know, when you tell me talk to your manager and I'm your friend and I know you, I have your phone number in my phone and you're telling me to talk to your manager, what are you talking about? Why have you allowed yourself to drift so far away from what is reality that you've become clouded in this you think you're above something when I know you personally. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, and this is not me not understanding the business of you got to talk to someone's agent or like, I understand all that shit. Not an idiot. We're talking about a little tiny writers round where you can come out and share a few songs. If you don't want to do it, just say I don't want to do it. But don't play this game with me like you're on a different level, because that mentality, you're not going to have a career in this industry. You're going to be a little flash in the pan and then off you go. Just be humble and don't be an asshole. Be a
There you
good
go.
person, just be a good person. That's it.
So we've been going for an hour and 45 minutes already. I have three more quick questions. Is that okay with you?
Of course, buddy.
Do I have to talk to your manager?
You got to talk to my manager.
Okay. That's funny. So, okay, we're wrapping up 2021. It's been an amazing year for you, for your music, for your career. Have you started to cast a vision for 2022? If so, what is that vision? And have you started setting any goals? And hopefully the pandemic things get more and more normal as we go, and there's big tours and things opening up. What does 2022 look like in David's mind?
Well, we just had a rehearsal yesterday. We have weekly rehearsals every Tuesday with the band, and we demoed up 4 brand new songs, and and we just released an album. So we're already working towards putting a full length album together for a late release next year. And really, what we're doing now is just working on our live show for the new year. I've been booked for several major festivals in Canada and that haven't been announced yet. And I just want to bring the craziest, most fun-packed concert to the stage next year for the fans. Because I feel like 2022, we're going to be back to, a new normalcy. We're getting there now, and but I feel like 2022, we're really going to have things back to where they used to be, with just different guidelines and stuff. But just working hard and getting ready for a new tour season.
So if I were to invent a time machine and I were to gift you this time machine for Christmas, and you could go back in time and you could sit down with a 10-year-old David Boyd James, what advice would you give your 10-year-old self with all the years of experience since being 10 years old, all the lessons you've learned, all the personal growth? What do you say to little baby David Boyd James?
I think, I mean, it was around 13 when music started to kind of happen, 12, 13. I truly believe that everything really does create the Frankenstein that we create, right? It's like all those little things mold you as a person. And so it's hard for me to really see past that, because I could sit here and say, oh well, don't do this and don't do that, and don't deal with that person, and when they come into your life, and there's all these like, give yourself all these warnings. But I think the one thing I never forgot to do was dream. And I feel like that's something that when you hit that 10-year-old mark, you're starting to understand that Santa Claus isn't real. I don't think any of my fans are going to hear this that believe in Santa Claus.
Your 6-year-old fans aren't going to listen.
Google ruined it for everybody, right? But I would say, just keep dreaming and don't stop believing in yourself. And don't let the internet change who you are. That's what I would say. Don't let the internet change you, because it will. It's so easy to hide. You know what really breaks my heart is when fans will message me on Instagram, and they, can we face chat sometime, or can we video chat sometime? And I'm and if I get a vibe of, they're a cool person or they're nice, I don't care if they're hot or not, guy, girl, it doesn't make a difference. And I've talked to a few people on video chat, and when the video chat comes on, they look absolutely nothing like their profile pictures. And because they have all this makeup on, or filters on, and that breaks my heart, because it's like, just be yourself, man. And people that are going to like you are going to like you. People that don't like you are not going to like you, because even if you're fake, or you create this fake persona or this fake person, people eventually are going to get to know you, and they're going to like you or not like you. So I don't put on a special voice or a special character for the camera. You know, I am who I am. And, you know, some people will think that is too abrasive and too aggressive, and some people will appreciate the no bullshit policy, just being real and honest. So that's what I would tell myself. Don't let the internet change you. Stay true to who you are.
So
And I feel I've done that.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot over the last 2 hours. As we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to mention? Anything we didn't cover? Anything you want to say?
I just want to say thanks for having me back. I'm honored to be the only person that has been on the show twice.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a milestone, man.
And I appreciate the time and effort you put into your interviews. And I wish everybody did that. But I also realize that, not everybody has the same vision on certain things. And I've always said, as an artist, you can sing in a coffee shop, you can aim to sing in a coffee shop, or you can aim to sing in a stadium. Both of those goals are great goals, but there's a really huge difference and a huge gap in work ethic and commitment between achieving two of those goals. So I say to you, you can do interviews where it's just, quick off the cuff, or you can be a professional. And you, sir, are a professional, and I appreciate it, because I do a lot of interviews, and it's nice when someone actually takes time to think of questions, and, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. Now, where can our listeners find you online? So is there a website, social media links? And if someone wants to reach out to you, where's the best place where they might get a response? If they just want to say, hey, love the new album or anything, where do they find you?
All my socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, is at David Boyd Janes, to make it really easy. Easiest social to get me on is Instagram. I try to respond to all the messages.
If someone slides into your DMs.
Yeah, you can slide into my DMs. If I stop responding, it's probably because either A, things are really crazy and busy, or you're just being creepy. And that happens, man. It happens. Let me tell you, it happens. But Instagram is the best place. And I love chatting with people. And every night at 9:00 is a big commitment, but every night at 9:00 on Instagram, I make time to hop on the live. And I do my best not to miss them. Sometimes I'm a little late getting on, but I really do try to hit that 9:00 marker every night. And that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And my website is www.davidboydjanes.com. We have merch available. Hard copies of Drove Me Country are going to be shipped out soon. I only ordered 500 copies that I'm going to hand sign and hand number each one. So there's still some of those available. They're only $20. It includes shipping anywhere in Canada. And that's probably that's the best way to keep in touch, is probably Instagram. I'm constantly doing updates for shows and stuff. So
perfect. All right, David, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. 2 hours. That was I think this is the longest interview we've ever had for the podcast. So a special
Breaking
time,
all kinds of records.
yeah, our special time allotment for our only two-time guest here. So thanks, David. I appreciate it. And for all the listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I'd love to hear from you guys. My goal is to grow this podcast organically, where you're giving me feedback on topics you'd like me to cover and guests you'd like me to interview. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Joel Martin Mastery. Joel is Joel, and on Twitter at Joel Mastery. So I am done. I am complete. I approve this message, and I'll see you on the next episode.